I'm Katherine Franchois. I am from Philadelphia in the States originally. I attend Alliance Manchester Business School for my MBA full-time. It's an 18-month program. I actually just started my summer project as a consultant for the Premier League in the Senior Leadership and Workforce Development team, and I'll be with them for about 4 months before we start our fall electives. Prior to starting the MBA in Manchester, I worked 8 years as a deck officer in the U.S. Merchant Marine, primarily aboard oil tankers. I was a third mate, and we were in charge of navigation, cargo, and safety inspections. I always saw my work in the Merchant Marine as a job and not necessarily a career. I knew I wasn't going to spend my whole life at sea, and I was at the point in my life where I was ready to make the transition shoreside. And unfortunately, with all the transferable skills I knew I had coming from the Merchant Marine, it was difficult finding a job. So I knew my best path was to go back to school and get an MBA where I could broaden and deepen my skills and be able to go into the open job market and present the transferable skills that I have, as well as the in-depth knowledge I had gained from getting the MBA. I chose Alliance Manchester Business School first because I was very interested in doing my MBA abroad, particularly in England. I've always loved England. And when I was looking at UK MBA programs, the typical four that you would see were London Business School, Saïd Oxford, and Judge Cambridge, and then following those three major ones were Alliance Manchester Business School. And what stood out to me for AMBS was the hands-on learning approach that they take. They offer 3 consultancy projects while you're at school. So your first one is the not-for-profit project. You work for charities or not-for-profit organizations on a consulting project they put forward for you. Mine in particular was with a housing association based out of London, and we were working on a business model for them where they could create a standardized process for having all of their surveys for their buildings. Our second consultancy project is called the Commercial Business Project. We actually just completed this on Friday, and I did this with a London consulting firm that specializes in low carbon and net zero targets. This project focused on fleet adoption, EV fleet adoption in the UK and Europe. And then the final consultancy project that you do at AMBS is called the International Business Project, IB. That's kind of the capstone project you have, and it's with bigger organizations, global organizations, and you work on those for them, but we haven't gotten there yet. For the not-for-profit project that is assigned to you along with your group, and then for commercial business project, you're assigned your group, but you go through a bidding process where you have the list of companies. You and your group decide which 3 you're most interested in. You create a bid for each of those 3. You sit down with those companies, present your bid and why you're the most eligible for the project and them taking you on for the project, and then you win the bid, and that's what you work on for the next three-ish months. And that's the same process for the IB project in the winter term of your second year. But unlike a commercial business project and the not-for-profit project, you actually do get to choose your own group for that final project. The not-for-profit goes along with your core courses in operations management, consulting, and marketing. Particularly for the commercial business project, it is in parallel with your strategy and competition courses. And then the IB is the capstone, as I said, and it brings all of your core courses together and your learnings from those and how you implement them in real-world business. So student life in the MBA program, I think it varies, and it obviously it's you get out what you put into it. So we're a very close cohort. I think we have parties or meetups organized almost every weekend. There's student council, there's groups. We have a hiking group. We have a football group. Football is obviously a huge sport in the UK. And during the season, we're meeting up every week to watch matches together. So it's a very tight-knit group, but obviously it balances out with the amount of work that you're putting in for your classes. So there is a lot of studying involved in preparing and putting in the work for your consultancy projects. Those are probably considered full-time jobs for us in addition to our regular coursework. So, you work hard and you play hard and you enjoy life, and, you can sleep when you're dead. In terms of extracurricular activities, I am the class president for student council. So I'm involved in that heavily, obviously. I am involved in the basketball team. This past May, we competed in the MBA tournament in Paris, France at HEC. And in preparation for that, we established teams for all different kinds of sports, esports, card games. So that was really how it was divided. So I was involved with the basketball team. I was the coach. I was playing. And then I'm in the football club, so attending all the events that we kind of host and watching those matches. But yeah, I would say obviously student council is the one I'm most heavily involved in. We came in 8th out of 19 or 18. So we weren't the bottom half. We can be proud of that. The Battle of the Bands, AMBS came in 2nd place. I think one of the esports, I forget the name of the computer game, we came in 2nd for, and we came in 2nd place for FIFA on PS5 for the esports as well. So I guess we stood out in the esports zone. I don't know what that says about us, but we had fun doing everything else, and that was the important thing. I think one of the things that this school does that I appreciate a lot is we have these courses called MBA plus courses, and they give us kind of supplementary in addition to core courses. And one of the ones I've appreciated the most was called Having Difficult Conversations. And it was like a 4-hour course, and we just learned techniques and how to approach, and did a little role playing. And I think had I had that course in my past life, I would have approached a lot of difficult conversations differently. I moved to the UK about 3 weeks before the start of the MBA program, and I felt at home within 3 days. It was such an easy transition, and I think being in the UK in particular, it's obviously there's no barrier in terms of languages or anything. And culture-wise, it's very similar to the US. So I think it was a very easy transition compared to going internationally to another school where you have to learn a new language or the culture is very different. I've enjoyed it tremendously. My goal is to stay in the UK after graduating. But I think having experience abroad, whether it is in the UK or another country, is really important for business people, especially for international business, because you do have exposure to those different cultures, not just the country you're in, but the diversity that you get from being at those schools is important, and you get to work with those people every day and understand them and learn how they work and how they think, and having that diversity of thought, I think, is really critical for any business person. When I started my MBA, I was just assuming I'd be taking a traditional path down, operations, probably still within the maritime industry. I don't have an idea of a particular role, but having the current consultancy project that I'm working on makes me want to stay on this path. I don't know particularly what role in that. I just would like to stay in football if I can. I know it's a industry that everybody wants to be in, so I understand how competitive it is. So I think you always talk about having the role, having the location, and having the sector, and it's always difficult to get all three. So right now I'm just looking at location and sector. So I'm looking to stay in football, and I'm looking to stay in the UK, and whatever role pops up within that ecosystem, I guess that's where I am right now. I was able to get a contact through our alumni officer, and it was kind of, I guess, a long courtship, you could say. I had asked him to come to speak to the class for a leadership series that I was setting up as class president, and he was willing to do that, and he came and spoke, and I think he's in my opinion, one of the best guest speakers that we had all year. And following that, I just fostered that relationship for a few months, and at a certain point, when we were in our internship selection phase, I guess, I had reached out to him saying, it's an internship period, but it doesn't necessarily have to be an internship, and I'm looking for any kind of project work that you might have. If there's anything that you've wanted to get to that you haven't been able to in the past, I'm willing to work. I have these hours available from these dates, and we just continued chatting, and he came back and said, you know what, I do have something for you. I'm going to hire you as a consultant. And so now for the next 4 months, I'll be working specifically for the Premier League. They have a program called the Elite Academy Managers. And it's a pathway for academy managers and senior leaders within clubs who aren't necessarily from the business world, have a academic path to learning the business side. And the Premier League focuses on leading yourself, leading others, and leading the business. So what we're looking at is creating core courses for these in each of these areas, and particularly with leading the business, it's almost like an MBA course. So you're looking at finance courses, you're looking at operations courses. So I'm going through that and doing a bit of quality assurance, and deciding what is suitable for these programs, for these academy leaders going forward. And that actually leads to them possibly ending up with a master's in sport management as well. So it's very interesting. Obviously, traditionally, Americans are football, basketball, baseball, which I love all three of those sports as well. I grew up in a very sports-centered family, and I played basketball in college, of all things. But I've always loved football, and my cousins were very into it. And the era where they were into it, I followed them, and they were Arsenal fans. It was around the Invincibles era, so I kind of hopped on board with my older cousins because I wanted to be like them. And I just stuck with it, and moving here, that passion's only grown, and it makes me realize like where I want to be, and yeah.